All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to another episode of the Coffee and Takes podcast. This is episode number 16. I'm very privileged today to be joined by a very special guest, Jason, who I actually came across in TK Maxx. I was walking with my friend and he stopped me and he complimented me very nicely about my suit. And I really appreciated that. I found that quite refreshing that someone would extend a kind gesture to someone else. And, we got to know each other since, and he's a great guy, very sharp guy. In fact, probably the sharpest guest I've had on here so far.
I appreciate that. Start from yourself.
Oh, thank you. I mean, that's a standard that's too high. And, I'm just joking, man. But thanks very much, Jason, for coming down.
Thank
Good
you
to
for the
have you
invite.
here. For those that don't know you, if you could just kindly introduce yourself and your background, and then we'll get straight into it.
Cool. My name's Jason Stritser. I'm 22 years old, and I currently work as a network infrastructure architect, which is to say that I design and implement network solutions for corporate clients. So we have a lot of contracts, a lot of negotiations, and we are responsible for basically designing it from the ground up, and we turn on the Wi-Fi pretty much. This is a good, safe corporate job, and I think it's great for my age to be in a world like this. But this kind of led me onto the idea of starting something for myself, because I kind of thought in my mind, it was like, no matter how hard I work, I'm working to fill someone else's bank account, right? And so I guess that sort of led me down the journey of wanting financial independence. And that's where I'm at the moment.
Brilliant. And what does that look like for you? So what did you explore? So obviously you had your job. Yeah. Where did you begin? What did you start looking at?
Well, I'm very thankful for my job, because it was a work from home job. So it allowed me a lot of things that I suppose other jobs wouldn't allow, which is to say that I was able to learn trading, right? And trading is one of these things. It's like, it's got like a magical connotation to it. Everybody believes in the lifestyle. You hear it online. There's all these traders who make, can turn £100 to 100K overnight and all this stuff. But I just wanted to learn about it. Like, I was genuinely interested. I was like, how do I actually break this down, and what can I get out of this? And so this was something that I would say was years in the making, because I've always had the mindset, even when I was young. So I was like 14, 15, and I was looking into, how do I start a company? How do I sell my own clothes, for example? And I guess at that age, I would make excuses. I was like, it's too saturated. It won't go anywhere. And so I kind of shut that down. And, I guess trading is one of those things that everybody comes across, right? When you're looking in sort of the bag of financial freedom, you look at all these options, and trading's going to be one of those that come up. So same thing, I was 16, 17, something like that. I'm looking into trading. I find a course online. I'm bored, man. I'm bored. I look at it. I'm looking at numbers, charts, candlesticks. I don't care about that. I want to make money now. So I turned off of that as well. And I was like, this ain't for me. And it was only, years later, when I'm working a corporate job, I'm kind of thinking, where's this going to lead me? Am I really going to be here for the next 40, 50 years and become an old pensioner and rely on retirement? I was thinking, no, there's more to life than that. And so I sort of came across the course again, and I was like, you know what? I remember starting this. Why did I never complete it? And I restarted it again, and I was like, I've seen all this. And I was thinking, yeah, I'm bored because I've seen it, but why am I watching it again? It's because I didn't complete it. It's because I quit. And I was like, all right, let me just not quit this time. Let me just see it to its natural conclusion, see it to the end. And that's exactly what happened. I saw it to the end, and, I got into trading, and I lost a lot of cash, and you got to be good at losing to sort of learn from that. And, we're about a year in now into trading, and I've picked it up, I'd say, quite quick. And, that's where I am at the moment. I'm basically at a point where I'm still making sure I can get that consistency for a long term, right? So say, for example, I've actually been profitable for the past 2 months, but I see that as such a small time frame. So I'm not going to scale that up just yet. So I want to see, okay, how am I going to be in 6 months or 1 year? And then possibly one day, inshallah, break free and just be trading all the time and just travel the world and enjoy life that way.
It's magical what happens when you just pick something.
Yes.
Of all the options that are available, when you just make a decision, you know what? I don't know much about this, but I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for it. I'm going to start learning. I always say that curiosity is the starting point.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things out there. But if something naturally grabs your curiosity, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Because people always hear things like follow your passion.
Yeah.
And I actually hate that saying, because your passion is something that you develop through competence, right? Passion comes with competence. When you become really good at something, that's when the passion comes. It doesn't come on day one when you're crap.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I can talk about my trading journey in that way, because trading for me, similar to you, when I first looked at it, I mean, it seemed overwhelming.
Yeah.
But a part of me was like, I want to figure this out though. Like, well, these lines, these charts, what do they mean? Like, a part of me was really inclined to dig deeper.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a passion that I had since I was 9 years old. I mean, I didn't know that it was even possible until I, you know, got to 21, 22. That's when I started to look at trading properly. Before that, I had no clue. When I was in school, you know, secondary school, A levels, I didn't know what trading was. And the world of trading actually developed significantly in the last 15 years because retail trading was something that it didn't exist 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I mean, it kind of developed as the technological boom developed. Because now we have smartphones, laptops. It's a lot more accessible to the average Joe.
Definitely.
And look, funny enough, this is something we were discussing before this episode. Actually, we did a mini recording which got cut off, so we're doing this again. But you know, it's bringing more things to mind right now as I'm speaking about it. But you know, we spoke earlier about the fact that there's so many options available to the average person now. When they go on YouTube, how to make money. Here's 7 passive income streams. Why drop shipping will kill all the other side hustles, and so many clickbaity titles of this income stream is better than that. And you mentioned something really fascinating about supermarkets conducting studies about options. I'd like if you can share that again.
For sure, yeah. So they found that people get paralyzed by having too much choice. So you walk into a supermarket and say you find any product, it doesn't matter what it is, could be a can of sardines, and you have 20 different brands and they all have their own spin on what makes their one amazing. You know, this one has extra omega-3, this one has this and that. So you get paralyzed. And you know what they found is that nobody makes a choice because they're too scared of making the wrong choice. So by reducing your options to, say, 4 brands or 5 brands, they found that people actually make a choice, just some choice. And so that resulted in them buying, right? And so the same applies to practically anything in life, because you can be overwhelmed by anything. You want to go to a clothing shop. Okay, how many t-shirts are there? Thousands, right? You go to a place, you want to buy a suit, you want to buy shoes, anything. There's all these different types, different colorways, different patterns, and you do get paralyzed. You don't know which one will suit you, and bloody hell, just close your eyes and pick something, man, because then you'll stop wasting time. That's actually what that is. You're just wasting time. You're just second guessing yourself. And this applies the most in trading, actually, because I used the example earlier of, you know, just even choosing an indicator. There's thousands of indicators, and I'm sure there'll be another 1,000 added, you know, in 24 hours. There's always new indicators being invented. And there's no one indicator that's better than the other. You know, there's some that might give you a bit more information, a bit less, some that go better with your strategy, some that go worse. Just pick something and go from there, you know. So just close your eyes and just pick, you know, Ichimoku, or if you want to go for Bollinger Bands, whatever you want. Just pick something and start, because if you just sit there and be like, oh, I don't know if I'm choosing the right one, you're not going to choose any. And then guess what? You've wasted time. You've wasted about a week or something. Oh, I'll do it next week. You'll put it off. Yeah. You know, and that's a big obstacle that a lot of us as people have. Yeah. And, you know, a big misconception people have around trading, and this applies to entrepreneurship in general, is that there's a perfect plan, right, or a perfect strategy to conquer the market, or to win in the marketplace if you're selling whatever clothes, or there's a perfect plan. And this is why so many people stay on the sidelines, because they're preparing and they're not executing. Yeah. You know, the plan doesn't have to be perfect. If it's adequate, it can make you money. Yeah. You know, because most people are on the sidelines planning and researching, and the mere fact that you just take the first step already puts you in a position to be able to start earning money. Right. You know, even if your strategy wins 5 out of 10 times, you're still making money. Someone else is trying to perfect a 10 out of 10 strategy, and he hasn't taken a single position.
So you're actually more profitable just because you took the first position.
Right.
You know, so I suffered from this.
Yeah.
Because when I actually looked into trading for the first time, I remember learning loads of different strategies, going on YouTube. Hang on, this guy says that this doesn't work. Okay, let me learn his strategy. And then someone else actually says his strategy doesn't work. And I just kept switching from strategy to strategy. And I realized the strategy isn't the main focus.
No.
The main focus is just executing a strategy consistently enough to be able to start seeing results. The gym is a great example. If you've never been to the gym, the mere fact you're in the gym training 4 or 5 times a week will put you into semi-decent shape. Obviously, nutrition has a big part to play, but if you're eating relatively well, a nutritious diet, you're not exceeding your calories too much if you're trying to build muscle in a lean way. If you're doing all of that and you're in the gym working out, even rubbishly, even if you're not following a proper strict plan, but you're just in the gym, you're doing bench.
You're just doing something.
You're doing something.
Right.
I mean, you'll notice progress.
Definitely.
You know, so it's the same with trading. If you're taking positions, that puts you on the field.
Right.
And players get paid more than spectators do.
Right. And I mean, it's just exactly what you're saying. You're taking a position. If it wins or loses, even if you lose, you still learn something. You're still gaining something. So when you lose, okay, why did I lose? Was it a timing issue? Did I not wait for this to happen? Did I not follow my strategy, perfectly enough? Is there something I can tweak? Anything. All right. And that helps you. Okay. Because then you're going to learn what to do next time. Whereas again, the guy who hasn't even started, he's not going to have that information yet. Because
it's feedback, isn't it? I mean, human civilization has got to where it is because of this study of feedback.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
I mean, look at commercial airlines right now.
Yeah.
Look at the planes we have today.
Yeah.
Compare it to the planes we had in the 18th century, late 18th century.
Yeah.
I mean, it's night and day, right? I mean, planes now, you can shower on a plane.
Yeah.
You can cook on a plane, right? It's insane. If you would have told this to someone who was born in the early 1800s, they would have told you were involved in some witchcraft, right? What do you mean a machine in the sky that I can cook and have a shower and are you out of your mind, right? So the whole, even smartphones. I mean, the very concept of a smartphone still blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because if you break a smartphone apart and you look inside, it's a green circuit board and some orange.
The complexity in that is incredible. It's mind-blowing, seriously.
I'm like, how on earth? I can't figure that out, right? But someone did.
Right.
And that happened over decades of studying the feedback. Okay, this doesn't work, guys. We need to find a way more efficient way.
It's called iterative design. It's just iterative design. You're iterating. You make one thing, you make a mistake. Okay, then let me fix that. The next one, make a mistake. That's why you have prototypes. You have... You know the guy who made that Dyson vacuum cleaner? I think he'd had
James Dyson.
James Dyson. I believe, I don't know the number, but it was like 1,000 different prototypes, right? And it was because each one of them in the past had some problem. There was a malfunction. There was a failure, and it was only until he came to the final one, it was like, you know what, this is it. And oftentimes,
it's how they see each failure, right? And I put failure in quotes because in my books, failure is given up.
Yeah.
But making a mistake or whatever, or not quite perfecting it, I mean, that's part of the process. You can't have success without failure, even in the trading.
Definitely.
So it's the best example because trading is basically just numbers, right?
Yes.
You need to lose to win.
Yeah. But
as long as your ratio, your win-loss ratio is pretty decent, then you'll be profitable, right? If you're losing more than you're winning, then obviously there's something wrong there. But if you can be a profitable trader even by winning 4 out of 10 trades if your risk to reward is good enough, right? So that's what trading taught me about life.
Yes.
And I'd love to know a little bit more about what it's taught you as well. I mean, it must have surprised you in many ways because looking at it from the outside and seeing the flashy lifestyle and then actually doing it, it's 2 different things. So what did trading teach you that perhaps you didn't expect when you first started?
Yeah, a lot, I would say. And a lot of this, I always tell people, you can't teach on a course online. You can't teach by just reading or something. Like, you learn through pain, and you got to be able to lose and be a good loser. Okay. And people are going to be like, what the hell do you mean by that? But lose and study the loss. Go back and be like, okay, where did I go wrong? Where can I improve? Because if you take that and you take it as like a personal attack, you have that victim mindset, you're actually shifting the blame onto something else. Oh, it wasn't me. It was the market did that to me. Oh, it was the news came out. Oh, it was this. It was that. It was you. You put that on, and whatever the feedback was, you gotta accept that. And I think that's something that people are not prepared for. They're not prepared for the honesty of instant feedback. You put a trade on, and then you instantly find that that was a loss. That's painful, man. So I want to find some other thing to blame, and being able to actually hold yourself accountable. And that's not to say beat yourself up. That's not to say, oh, I'm terrible at what I do. No, just be like, okay, that hasn't worked out, but how can I objectively view this and think of the best outcome? Okay, I lost here, but you know, I've got to keep the big picture in mind, and that's very hard for most people. And so I'd say, if I was to boil it down, psychology is the biggest one. Like, you'll hear these guys online, they'll break down the theory behind it. Yeah, if this hits that, it equals this. If there's a channel, if there's a downtrend, you know, trade with the trend. Right, that's theory, but in practice, you know, you're trading with the trend, bloody thing goes up, right?
Spot on.
And then it's like, you know, I did everything right. Again, it's the psychology. It's like, okay, you can't be right 100% of the time. You can be the best trader in the world. You're not going to be right 100% of the time. And being able to take that on the chin and develop from that is, I think, the best thing. And this even goes back to our choosing a strategy. You know, a lot of people just flip flop. So 1 week they're on one strategy. That didn't work. Next one. Just focus on one, perfect that one, build upon it. And yeah, most traders I meet, in fact, all traders I meet, their strategy is not really duplicatable. Actually, it's like quite personal to them. So they'll say to you, oh yeah, I use a 25 EMA and a 50 EMA and all this stuff. You'll put that on your screen. I don't see where the hell he's getting his signals from. Somehow in his mind it works. If it works for him, then it works for him. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's not something that he can teach me. That's something that he learned through his experience, through his perspective, through his psychology. Yeah. And I think that's stuff that, again, is not talked about enough. And it's something that I learned coming in.
Spot on. What works for one person may not work for the other.
Right.
And, you know, funny enough, I believe that you can give someone, or two different people.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine there's two people in front of you, aspiring traders.
Yeah.
You can give both of them the same strategy.
Yeah.
And get two different outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
And it's not because the strategy is different for each person. It's the same strategy. Yeah. And you've got instructions on how to execute that strategy, but it's different. The results are different. Why? Yeah. Because of the approach with the strategy.
Yeah.
It's the psychology element, which also surprised me when I first got into trading as well, because I realized if I could just hack the strategy, I'd make loads of money.
Yeah.
But then I realized there were self-sabotaging beliefs that were interfering with my logic.
Yeah.
All right, hang on a second. Why am I taking my position out too early? The strategy says leave it until this take profit. Why am I scared?
Right.
And I realized there were things that were stopping me from, you know, properly executing that strategy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because back testing is, in my opinion, the most important skill or most important practice to execute as a trader. It's the equivalent of going to the gym as a trader. Back testing. Go back in time, which is what the word means, right? Back testing. Go back in time from 2009, 10, 11. There's softwares like Soft Forex and TradingView allows you to do that now as well. You can go back in time and trade the market and give yourself the same conditions that you will experience. When I say same conditions, I mean the parameters. So the risk that you're willing to take on for each position, trade size, etc. Take profit, stop loss, and just gather feedback.
Yes.
You know, see how well you can execute that strategy. Now, obviously, it's different when it's a live market, because then you start in your head, you start thinking, if you're up in a position, right, you're up £500, you start thinking of how you're going to spend the money straight away.
I'm going to
book a holiday here, I'm going to do this. And you start thinking of this dream life. And then you might find yourself taking the position out early because you want to guarantee. And look, it's very important to pay yourself as a trader, right? And this is why with my strategy, for example, I split my one position into 3 different positions. I risk 1%, but I divide it into 3 different positions. 2 of them I secure at 10 pips. And then the 3rd position I leave as a runner, which can go 30, 40, 50 pips up. But I always have a stop loss, and I always move my stop loss to break even when I'm up 10 pips in a position for my runner, right? So this way I've counteracted the limiting fear that is brewing inside of me whenever I don't close a position.
Yeah.
Because that fear is there. It will always be there, but it's
Always.
about managing it.
Yes.
We spoke earlier about fear as a concept, and I said it's fearing the unknown.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and you spoke about exposure therapy. I'd love if you can just quickly dive into that.
Yeah.
You know, because I find that a very fascinating
Topic.
approach
Definitely.
to overcoming fear.
Yeah.
Exposing yourself.
Yeah, the idea of exposure is quite simply just, you know, you even used an example earlier about putting a person who was afraid of spiders into a room and releasing spiders. And over time, you'll see that people do begin to question themselves, like, why was I scared of them in the first place? I'm still here. I'm alive. You know, half an hour's passed. The spider's in the room, but I'm fine. So maybe my fear was irrational. And
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
that is one outcome, but also one that isn't spoken about as often is actually sometimes it can actually make the fear worse, or it can just keep the fear there still, because you'll put someone else in the room, same parameters, just like trading, same strategy, but the other person comes out even more scared or still just as scared. And it comes down to the person. So you can only do so much in terms of the strategy of you put the spiders in there, you put the person in there, you wait some time. But the actual journey of having the spiders in there and then the person actually coming out, that's within you. That's within that person's own psychology. So they might not overcome it, or they might overcome it. And it's completely up to them. And that's how trading is as well, is that you'll have people who have the ability to overcome certain obstacles and people who can't. And that's why trading's not for everybody. And it's a shame to say that, because I know everybody wants to hear that trading is that thing where you can get into, it's glamorous and blah, blah, blah. It's not. In my experience, at least, and from people I speak to, it is boring.
The learning process of trading has to be one of the most boring things. It has to be, because
but that is like the bar for entry. So if you get bored,
that's the trade-off.
if you get bored, you're not going to complete it. So then that kind of weans off a lot of people, right? That kills off a lot of people. And then the people who do make it through, there's the next bar. There's, okay, you know the theory. Can you then actually make some profit? And then people will lose, and then they'll quit because they've lost too much. And then so that's why you'll see the numbers whenever you sign up to any of these brokers. It will say like 80% of retail traders lose, and that number has always astounded me. It's like, what? You're telling me over 3/4 of people lose? It's like the cards are stacked against us. Okay, but here's what
this has never deterred me. Because
same here, actually.
I've always seen those stats at the bottom of these pages, right? But I've always thought, what fucking losers are those, right? Like, I've always looked at it and I've never identified with the 80%, even though I've lost money, loads of money, right? But every time I see that stat, I'm like, these fucking idiots, man. I can do a way better job than them. And you know what? As long as you're in the game and you're learning from the experiences that you're facing, and you're, going at it again with a different approach every time, you can't lose. You can't lose. You only lose when you quit. So I see it as 80% of people quit. That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's how I see it as well. Completely. Because what I find really interesting is that it's a 50-50 chance actually to win or lose with trading, right? Because the thing can only either go up or down. It doesn't go sideways for eternity. So it will always either go up or down at some point.
And even when it moves sideways, there's up and down.
There's up and downs in that. But if you was to just blindly just put a position, put a 1-to-1 stop loss take profit, and you used to do like 10 of them, in theory 5 of them would win, 5 of them would lose. Now obviously we can go into the law of large numbers, where the closer you get to an infinite number, the closer you get to that 50-50 win rate. But in theory, traders who don't even know what they are trying to do, if they blindly put a position on, they should win and lose 50% of the time. So why the hell is it 80% lose? And this is where, again, it goes back to psychology, because I think everybody's trying to beat the markets. Everybody's trying to find this one way to win, 99% win rate on YouTube.
This holy grail.
Yeah. And man, I think when you go down that rabbit hole, it only leads you to just being a loser, because I think
then what differentiates you from someone who's playing the lottery at that point?
Yeah,
you're just trying to get lucky every time.
It's a gamble, right? Exactly. And this even goes back to I've had a lot of people actually say to me, trading is a gambling game, and I say I understand why you think that. And to an extent, for some people with their strategy, it is gambling, for some people. But I think if you calculate your risk, if you manage your risk, if you have an appetite for it, if you've got the psychology, it can work out. And it does work out for a lot of people. But at the same time, I understand why people lose, because I just want to actually make this as a side point, but there's a lot of idiots on YouTube who will post, 100 to 100K overnight, and it sets these unrealistic expectations.
That's yeah.
And
exactly.
people go into it thinking, oh, okay, if I just learn this, I'll make this much. And they don't realize the consistency behind it. And we all hear consistency is key and all this stuff. It doesn't really sink in, because you'll be making, £10 a day, for example. Let's just say you're starting off. £10 a day is a nice target to hit. 5 trading days a week, £50 a week. That's comfortable. But then you're thinking, all right, I'm losing. I'm going through all this mental gymnastics for £10 a day. And you're like, that's not worth it. Let me scale it up. So yeah, you might have won a decent amount of trades and you might have hit that target consistently for 3 weeks. All right, you've scaled up now. Now you're trying to aim for £100 a day. But how do you know that those 3 weeks weren't just by chance? You just happened to be in the market at the right time for those 3 weeks. Because then a week later, you're trying to hit a higher target, your position size is higher, and all of those trades are a loss. So you're going through a losing streak, because everybody goes through losing streaks. You go through a losing streak, you've lost the account. All right, trading isn't for me, I quit. And
that's literally the experience of most of these quitters.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them actually had a really good run. I remember a guy that I spoke to once who was an absolute rookie. Didn't take a course, didn't read a book, just fluked his way to $7,000 in profits. And then lost it all. Yeah. And then said, I swear I'm never going to do trading again. But that's what he said, right?
In his heart, does he really believe he put the effort in?
That's the thing. If you know that you just fucked around and made $7,000 and then lost it, you shouldn't be angry at the end of it and think, oh, I hate trading. No, you were an idiot. You were gambling.
Yeah. Right.
That's what you were doing.
Right.
And, to touch on the whole gambling question, when people say, don't you think it's gambling? Well, I think if I fly a commercial plane with no experience, I think that's a huge gamble, right? Does that mean that flying a plane in itself is a very dangerous thing to do? No. If you're fully trained and you've had 10,000 hours worth of practice, it's another day in the office.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's how it is. But if you're someone who's never flown any plane, never even did demo flying or whatever they call it, right? Simulator flying. Yeah. If you've never even done an hour of simulator flying, and then you go and try and fly an Airbus A380, you're going to kill all these passengers right on board, right? Yeah. So I see it the same with trading. If you've never even back tested a day in your life, you've never set up a demo account and actually had a strategy that you try to execute consistently and receive that data and then tested that data out on the live market. If you've never even done that, then you have no right to say, oh, it's risky, or trading doesn't work. No, you didn't approach it correctly.
Right.
This podcast is very kindly sponsored by the gentleman at Glownode. If you are an aspiring trader who would like to gain access to capital to further progress your trading career, take a look at Glownode. They provide you with several options when it comes to funding. Once you pass your assessment, your evaluation phase with them, you have access to capital ranging from $10,000 all the way up to $200,000 in funding. I've dropped the details down in the link below.
Right.
So you have to be really honest with yourself. And I think self-awareness is key.
Definitely. Being accountable. It's like what we were saying earlier. Definitely.
Exactly. Like, how am I approaching the market? Like, for all of you struggling traders right now, ask yourself, genuinely, how am I approaching the market day to day? Do I have a plan? Am I winging it every day? How often do I backtest? Is it once every 3 months? Or am I backtesting daily? Because it's just the powerful thing about backtesting, and this is the most important thing to do as a trader.
It is the most important tool, I think, in trading. Full stop.
Absolutely
Full
is.
Stop.
And I wish I learned this sooner, because I learned a strategy and then I just went on the live market straight away. But backtesting is the equivalent of going to the gym as a trader.
Yeah.
You're trading the market from 5 years ago, 10 years ago. That's why it's called backtesting, right?
Yeah.
You're gathering that feedback, and then you're taking those hours of chart time and applying it to the live market. So you're able to recognize the pattern again on the live market.
Definitely.
It's a pattern recognition game.
Definitely.
That's why backtesting is crucial, because you've seen that pattern before.
Yeah.
You know you can trust yourself to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Because with a lot of people, the reason why they fluke or they flop at live trading is because they don't know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
They've learned on YouTube. Maybe they bought a course from some guy.
Yeah.
But when they look at the live market, it's like, what? What am I trying to find here?
Yeah.
So to piece the strategy together,
Yeah.
back testing is essential.
I do believe that.
And this applies to life as well, man. I mean, in anything that you do, you need many swings at bat before you can get the home run.
Right.
You know, and this is what YouTube has taught me, for example. My first few videos were filmed on a crap camera. And I used to think the camera was like the main make or break. If the camera is a great camera, then I'll get loads of views.
But would that be you shifting the blame then? So I'm asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Back then, my mentality was, it's the equipment that makes me successful.
Right.
But then I realized, no, it's me. I make me successful. Yeah. And I realized that because when I started posting on TikTok, at the time I had a crap phone, iPhone XS, front camera was really blurry. I think there was a crack in it. It looked like I was filming on a potato. People used to mock me in the comments. But you know what? I got several videos with millions of views with that phone.
Nice, mashallah.
Right, and at the time I was driving a Renault Megane. I wasn't sat in a Rolls Royce flaunting cash or anything like that. But my videos gained loads of views. Yeah. And that for me made me realize, you know what? It's the person. So if I become valuable to the marketplace, I will be able to be compensated more. You know, so I shifted away from external things need to be right for me to do well. And I started looking inwards. If I just develop myself, my skill sets, and I stop trying to rush things, because that's a problem. Yeah. When you try and speed things up, I need it now. I need it ASAP. And that's the lure of trading, because it does give you an instant profit or an instant loss. Yes. And if you are able to make an instant profit, that can seduce you into recklessness. Yeah. It can, because then you're, oh, hang on a second, I've made £100. And then you start going overboard and you try and basically you try and get lucky. Yeah. It's the lottery ticket mentality. If I can just get one trade, that'll sort me out. I'll be able to pay rent. And then you lose all that money, and then you get mad at yourself, and then you start thinking that the market is against you, and trading itself doesn't work. Right. When in reality, if you can strip the emotions away, you were just being reckless. Right. You know,
it's very hard to be objective, though. It's very hard to see. We as people can see other people and be like, oh yeah, that person wasn't doing this right. But it's hard to look at yourself and make that same judgment. I don't know. I just think that's just something that people have always been plagued with, I think.
You know, I think also that has a lot to do with comparison. Okay, yeah. Because someone might see their friend doing better than them, and their friend is the same age. Maybe they do the same thing, they both trade, but their friend is just killing it and they're not. And that frustrates them.
Eats away at the person.
Because then they start thinking, maybe I'm stupid, maybe I'm this. And then they try and catch up by making a series of dumb decisions.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, Hail Mary attempts. And maybe if I can just... But in reality, if you just focused on your own lane... Yes. It's like driving a car.
If you're driving used this example before. I like this one.
If you're driving a car and you see another car in the lane besides you, and you just fixate on that car, and you're like, oh, fucking hell, look at that, right? And you don't look at where you're going. Right. Sure enough, at some point, there'll be a car there, maybe slowing down or maybe stopped completely, and you'll go straight into the back of that car. And so that's the same with whatever you're doing, even in business and life. If you keep looking at what someone else has, you'll fuck up your own progress. Yeah. You will. It's inevitable, because you'll start making a series of bad decisions. And you'll justify them as, no, but I'm just trying, maybe he knows something I don't know, or, you know. And some people even take it even more personally, and they start thinking that maybe I'm not as intelligent, and they start internalizing their lack of progress.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of ways that people handle rejection, and actually goes into psychology again. It's all about, I think there's a science behind it. And again, I don't want to act like I know everything, but I heard that there's three main ways, which is the personal way, which is where you blame yourself for you say, I've got all these shortcomings. Is it because, I didn't do it this way or whatever? And that's one way. The other way is blaming anything else outwards. So the environment, it was the environment that set me up for failure. And then there is a third one, and this one's even more interesting. It's kind of blaming stuff that didn't even have any relation to it. So blaming stuff like the way you was brought up, like something in your childhood. Oh, it made me this way, and that's why this didn't work out. It's completely unrelated. But people,
they want to connect the dots somehow.
Yeah, they want to find some way. And obviously, it differs from person to person. Obviously, not everyone, blames, does this in this exact way. But yeah, we all have some variation where we've been rejected in some way, rejected out of a job, rejected out of a relationship, rejected out of something. And we've been like, oh, was it me? Was it this? And it's like, I think a lot of life is a numbers game. Is that you're going to get rejected. Ask any salesperson, you'll get rejected 1,000 times before you get a yes. And being able to take it on the chin. Same with trading, being able to take it on the chin and just be like, you know what? Yeah, okay, maybe there are some things I can tweak, I can change. So not ignoring that, but at the same time, so being accountable, but not blaming yourself. I think there's a fine line, because people will get into that habit of, oh, I'm to blame, blah, blah, blah. But no, find what you failed at, improve on that, be accountable, but don't blame yourself at the same time.
And it's not personal. No. It really isn't.
No.
That's what sales taught me.
Yeah.
You know, I was very fortunate to have gotten into sales from a very young age. My first sales job was in a telesales environment at the age of 19. And you know what? I feel like that has actually massively benefited me in trading as well, because rejection was something that wasn't completely alien to me.
Right.
You know, in that environment, I was told to fuck off every day. I was making $200. Most people weren't interested.
Yeah.
So I kind of eliminated that complete shock that comes from being in sales for the very first time. You know, what do you mean? You're very shocked at how most people don't give a fuck. Yeah. You know, and so you have to find a way to develop to get someone's interest for a little bit more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, get that thick skin.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Thick skin. And then you start learning about, you know, tonality, objection handling and things like that. And, you know, in the world of trading, if you can approach the market and not take anything personally, because it's not personal. What is the market? It's not an alien. It's not a creature, right? It's just the market.
Yeah.
You know, there's big players, small players in the market. You're one of them. Yeah. Right? But you just need to navigate your way around it in such a way where you don't completely destroy yourself. Because if you lose all your money, that means you were gambling. This is what I told someone the other day who spoke to me about trading. He said, I wanted to do trading, but Ali, isn't it very risky? And I told him, listen, man, when you say you did trading before, what did you do? He said, yeah, I put about 1,000 in an account, traded a couple of days, lost the money. I said, do you think that was sensible? You know, once you start asking people questions and you make them look inwards, a lot of them actually come to their senses and realize, you know what, now that you've said it, that's stupid, right? I said to him, did you have a proper plan? Did you back this? No. Well, then you're an idiot. Right? So if you approach something correctly, with the correct training and the correct approach, it's impossible for you to lose. It's the same when it comes to getting in shape. If you're trying to lose weight and you're having less calories than your maintenance, and you're training frequently, you will lose that fat.
Yes,
you will. Definitely. It's not a maybe. No, you will.
You will. Yeah,
you will.
It's a certainty. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like the law of gravity, right? Yeah. If you jump off a building, you're not going to float in midair. You're going to fall down, mate. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So for me now, my approach to anything is okay. Cause and effect, right? If the input is good, the output will be good. Now, does that mean the output is guaranteed to be the specific output that I had in mind? No. I mean, I could create a video and hope that it gets 100,000 views. But if it doesn't, that doesn't mean the input was crap. It just means you got to keep posting, maybe tweak a few things, and eventually one of them will hit 100,000. Yeah. Because I've experienced that myself, right?
Yeah.
So if the input is good and you do it consistently enough, then eventually, and obviously with trading, it's a scaling thing, right?
Yes.
So as you mentioned, if you can make £10 a day consistently over months, then you can probably do the same with a £100,000 account.
It's proof of concept, isn't it?
It's proof of concept. Exactly. Exactly. I'd love if you can dive into that a little bit more as well, because people want to skip the £10 to the £1,000. They want to jump. They don't want to, because let's be honest, £10 doesn't excite you.
No, it's not exciting. And this is where consistency is what I'm saying. It's like we all hear it, but we don't actually know what that means and what it means to us when we're actually trading. And again, £10 a day, you're making that. You're thinking, all right, this isn't much. It's not worth it. Let me scale up. That'll be more worth my time. And it's the journey that you've skipped. That's what will make you fail. Because that journey from scaling up, that was meant to be a slow process. All right. And you were meant to overcome a lot of obstacles during that way. If you skip that, if you just go straight from £10 to £1,000, there's a lot of like nuance and really minor obstacles that you haven't overcome yet, you haven't learned yet. So when you hit that £1,000, yeah, you might be able to make it for a day or 2, 3 days, you know, you might have a nice streak, but it's not sustainable. And that's what I'm saying. It's not sustainable, because you can't just translate that, because again, you may have had a consistent £10 a day for 2 weeks, but then you go through 3 weeks of your strategy not working, it's losing, and then you've lost the entire account. And so again, it's people have that rush of, I want it now, I want it here, I want, you know, X amount. And it's like what you were saying before, you start to imagine what you can buy with it. Oh, I can buy this holiday, I can buy these clothes, I can do this, I can, you know. And I think again, it's all down to psychology, which is not something that you can teach most people. You can't. It's all down to you as a person, the way that you're raised, the environment and all that. And I think that, yes, I think that trading is one of those things that it's not for everybody. It's not. And no. I know we was discussing 80% of people lose, and we just think of them as losers, they've quit. But obviously within that section of people, there are going to be people who genuinely are not compatible with trading as well.
Exactly.
And so actually for them, quitting was actually a good thing, because they probably could have lost, you know, 20 times more.
Yeah.
But for the people who genuinely have what it takes, if they quit, I think it's a shame. I really do, because...
Well, the demographic that struggles with trading the most is actually people that are very qualified in terms of education, right?
Yes.
Engineers, doctors, lawyers. They actually tend to struggle the most because they overthink it.
Yes, yeah.
They overthink it. Yeah. And that's actually something that surprised me with trading, is that the ones that do the best are the ones that just dumb it down and do it.
And just do something. Yeah.
Yeah. As we said earlier, I mean, players get paid.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have the best plan imaginable, but if you don't execute on that plan, it means nothing.
Right.
Someone could have a pretty adequate plan, nothing spectacular, but he's out there executing on it.
Yeah.
And so that person will end up getting a result sooner rather than later, right?
Yeah.
And so that's an approach that I now adopt in my life, is that, okay, even if it's just learning how to play a guitar, you know what? I want to play the guitar. Cool. What do I need to do? First, I wanted to get a fucking guitar, right?
Right.
Get a guitar and just start playing it.
Right.
Now, I could sit there buying books on guitars and researching, but even if I have the best book, but from the best author, I ain't going to improve if I don't get a damn guitar and start playing.
Practical application. And I think that's for anything in life. I think we as people, we are quite hands-on learners. And I think that's something that schools struggle with. And this is what my problem is with the education system, actually. And I know they're doing the best with what they've got with exams and all these things, but I think most people are not geared towards learning from a whiteboard and just writing things down. And I think that's where people get that idea of, you got to buy a book and read it. You can learn a lot from a book. I've learned a lot, believe me, but you learn more through doing, you know. And again, same thing with trading. My trading journey exponentially increased. It went much faster when I actually just opened a bloody chart, just looked at it, started putting, you know, on a practice account, I was putting trades in, taking them out, just, you know, getting an understanding for the rhyme and reason behind it. And yeah, again, you can't get that from just a textbook. It can only teach you so much. And yeah, it's always about practicality.
100%. And you need to get a taste of success, even if it's a small taste of success, because that proves, as you said, the proof of concept,
proof of concept, yeah.
You can see, hang on a second, this actually works.
Yeah.
And this is why I encourage, and many other people that trade and teach trading encourage, that with your first withdrawal, buy something physical, whether it's a laptop, a new suit, because then every time you look at it, you're like, man, trading did that.
Through, yeah. Do you
know what I mean? Yeah. And so when you go back into the market, it's impossible to feel completely discouraged, because there's proof that it works.
Right.
And so you can do it again.
Right.
If you can make £10 once, you can do it again and again and again.
Right.
Now, obviously, if you're on a losing streak, you need to understand, is this just a losing streak, or am I doing something fundamentally wrong in my strategy?
That's where backtesting comes in now.
And that's exactly where it is. Because if you go back and test the market over, let's say you test 2009, right? Because this is what I did. I went back and I've gone through like 4 or 5 different trading journals. Trading 2007, 8, 9, 10. One strategy, one currency pair. All I traded is GBP USD. Occasionally, maybe Euro USD. Maybe I cheat on the side here and there, right? But GBP USD is my main goal. That's what I trade.
Yeah.
I understand how she moves. I understand how she acts, her mood swings.
I was going to ask, I mean, what brought you to that specifically? Because most people, when they talk about currency pairs, they talk about Euro USD, like that's the hot one, that's the most volatile and all this. What actually made you choose that specifically?
Euro USD is nice, but GBP USD, because obviously I'm based here in the UK, it's the British time zone that I'm in. There's a certain synergy right there.
Yeah.
And the in the mornings, GBP USD tends to move nicely. And so for me, I thought of it logically. Well, I'm in the UK. There's people that love to trade GBP USD, but they live in the US. So they're waking up at God knows what time. But I'm in the UK. Why not trade GBP USD? So that's how I thought of it, right? Of course, I could trade Euro USD. The time zone isn't that different.
Yeah.
But GBP USD for me, especially in the morning between 9 and 12, there's a nice amount of movement there for me. And my strategy, I'm only going after small movements, 10 pips. I'm not waiting for swings, so I'm not sat there over a period of several hours, looking at the market. So it works well for me.
In and out,
quick heist. Done, duffel bag out, right? That's my approach, and it's worked well for me. I remember before that I was trading everything: gold, US 30.
Oh, gold is a bitch, I must say.
But you know what? Someone else will say it's the best thing ever.
Well, I mean, in long term, I do think gold is actually the only true currency. Okay, because all of these other currencies are made up, aren't they? And they're not. So before, when we were on the gold standard, it was great. We had all of our currencies, they were backed by gold, and you could go to a bank and hand in £5 note and you'd get an exact amount of gold that was worth. These days, I mean, if you go from 1971 was when the United States basically declared to the whole world that they're no longer going to be the reserve currency, so they are not going to be backed by gold anymore. So when that happened, since then we've had massive amounts of inflation. So since 1971, I think the United States currency has dropped by 95%. So when you see it like that, and then you see gold has just been shooting up, I can see why people say gold is the way, because ultimately that was what currency was based on to begin with. So that was there before currency, that will be there after currency, you see. And I do get that, but actually trading it is a different story, because it goes all over the place. And I've actually looked at it. I've looked at different patterns and things that work on currency pairs that for some reason don't work on gold. So that is the only thing I would say. Gold is a great investment long term. So I actually buy physical gold and I hold on to that. I think that's a great investment, but not trading wise. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that then, actually?
I fully agree. I think as an asset, it's probably the best.
Yes, that's the best way to put it. Yeah,
it's holding it. Yeah, definitely a smart thing to do.
Yeah,
but trading the value of something is different to retaining the asset.
Yes, yeah,
gold will always be important, right?
Yeah,
it's a limited reserve, right?
Yeah,
and so the value, it will always have a value associated to it. Trading the value of a currency, however, or a commodity is a different thing.
Yes.
So just because I dislike the way that gold moves in the market doesn't change the fact that gold is valuable.
Yes, definitely.
I just don't like the movements that happen day to day. Yeah. It's too choppy for me to be able to trade it consistently. But for some people, it works. And that's exactly why it's important to find what works for you.
Yes,
Swing trading didn't work for me. I don't like holding on to positions for several hours or days. It doesn't align with my personality type. But scalping in and out quick, that works beautifully for me. So I found what works for me, and I haven't bothered with reinventing the wheel since.
You don't need to. If it's working for you, why do you need to go elsewhere?
Exactly. And look, I mean, there's always an element of learning small things over time, because, just because you've learned a strategy that works for you doesn't mean that it will always be set in stone. There might be a little adjustment that you'll make later on with an EMA or something to do with the way that you look at the chart. But the fundamentals are there and they won't change, right? And so making sure that you execute that, because I like to keep things as simple as possible, because I know who I am, and I know that if I make something very complicated, I won't do it. So I like to dumb things down to do them very easily. Like when it comes to content creation, for example, I used to stop recording every time I started, because I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, man, people aren't going to want to hear this. But then I decided, you know what? That's too much work for me. It was purely because I was lazy.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to fucking stop every time I stutter.
Right.
So I'm just going to record the whole thing in one take. If I stutter, I stutter. If someone laughs, they laugh. If they write a nasty comment, they write a nasty comment. This was when I first started. So I didn't have any actual evidence of people hating on me, whatever. But I was, it was all in my head.
Right.
And I realized actually that no one actually cares.
Yeah.
I started here and there in the beginning, but no one said anything. And then I realized, this has made my life a lot easier doing it all in one take, no edits, just post it.
Yeah.
Same thing with my podcasts, really. Yeah. All done in one take, no flashy edits, you know, for the single video, that is.
Yeah.
But it's out there. It's out there. Yeah. And, you know, it just made my life a lot easier. So that's come from the place of just simplifying things.
Yes. Yeah.
I think Bill Gates actually once said that he'd rather hire a lazy worker because they find a better way of doing things.
Oh, yeah, they find shortcuts, definitely.
Shortcuts, right? So that's the kind of guy. I'm not a lazy worker necessarily, because I work hard, but at the same time, I work smart as well.
Right, right. And I can actually think of an example of this. So at my corporate job, I as a way to, because I'm lazy there, I basically created, so you know you get like these keyboards with like a macro key that you can program. I just basically did like an automation, because a lot of it is just copy pasting things over, going over contracts. You just got to align information. Does that contract, does the information on there match with what they sent in the email and all this? I'll just use a macro key. You know, it does all of that in the background. Now, yes, maybe I'm lazy. I don't want to just Control C, Control V everything, but at the same time, I mean, that's quite an effective way to basically do the same job with less work. Exactly. And that's working smart. That's not being lazy. Being lazy is, I'm not going to do the work. I'd just rather sleep. That's laziness. I think actually being, I don't even know if we should even call it being lazy. I think being
resourceful,
being efficient has actually led to some amazing inventions. I mean, think about inventions they are made to solve a problem. Okay. We can't walk everywhere, or we can, but you know how inconvenient that is. So we invented cars, we invented bicycles, we invented public transport, all of this. So was there to solve a problem? You could say, people are lazy, they should just be walking, you know, our ancestors used to walk. Yeah, I know that, and you can argue that. There'll always be some crazy guy arguing that. And if you want to walk everywhere, then, but things are invented to solve problems, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think
people will always say that in the beginning. They'll always say, "Well, that's stupid."
Right.
Well, why would
until
you do that?
It actually becomes the thing. You know?
I think someone said to Harrison Ford when he was creating the automobile that it was a dumb thing to do because horses were faster. I think his prototype was so crap that horses were just running past him. And people thought it was a dumb thing to do. Right? Why would you create something made out of wood and metal? That's dumb. But obviously, you know, he believed in the vision that he had so much. And there's a quote from Will Smith, actually. He said, there's a certain delusional quality that every successful person has to have.
I do believe in that.
You have to sink into the delusion.
If you don't, who else will? Come on. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. So you have to be your biggest supporter. And sometimes it's hard to do that, you know, because we often are our worst enemies, aren't we? We do find problems in ourselves. We have imperfections. We have insecurities, all this kind of stuff. And I think that can go against us. But ultimately, having a plan, having a strategy in trading, you know, but in life as well, having that in life. This is the beautiful thing with trading. I think it translates a lot to life.
It really does.
And it's why I'm so passionate about it. You know, yes, it's a love-hate relationship sometimes, you know, but it teaches you a lot. I think it's the best teacher, trading, but life as well. Life is a good teacher. And you'll always have ups and downs in life, in trading, whatever. You got to learn to go with it at the same time, man, because you got to ride the highs, because they're not going to be here for the rest of your life. But you got to also, when it goes low, you got to realize that it will go up eventually. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, even if you can't see it. And I think that's a powerful thing that a lot of people need to sort of internalize. Yeah,
absolutely. I fully agree with that. It really does translate into every other aspect of your life. Even in your relationships, it makes you think, you know what, the plan doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to have everything in order before I meet a girl. If I just have, you know, a means of making an income, and I'm improving in that, and my life isn't all over the place, there's no huge ups and downs, there's some sort of stability. And you know what, I can bring her into my life, and things will improve over time in terms of the equity curve, right?
Yeah.
So every man starts
Equity
off at the
curve
bottom
of a relationship.
Exactly. Yeah, you start off at the bottom. You're broke. You know, you're inexperienced. You're probably a bad kisser. So many things about you.
Of course,
you don't dress well. But then over time, you obviously develop those skills.
Yeah.
And, you know, as men, we age like fine wine.
We do,
right? You know,
certainly.
it's if you're working on yourself, that is.
Definitely.
If you're not working on yourself, you age terribly.
Age like cheese. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, you know, it absolutely does translate into other areas of your life. And, you know, I think the most important thing is to trust the fact that you'll figure it out. As long as you know that you're doing everything you can.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? No, you don't want to feed yourself lies.
Yes.
You don't want to tell yourself, no, I'll be successful, but you're doing nothing.
Be accountable.
Because that's just delusion, right? I mean, not the right kind of delusion.
Yeah.
That's just, you know, pure craziness.
Yeah.
But if you have a plan and you're executing that plan and you have a good relationship with time and you understand that things take time and you're not lured by other people's progress or swayed in any way, or you're not discouraged by bad comments from friends and family, then you'll be fine. And eventually you'll get there.
Yeah.
And you have to trust that you will.
Yeah.
You know? And so I fully agree with you, man. I fully agree. And what's your dream with trading? Where do you want to take it?
My ultimate dream is honestly just to maintain an income that I can be comfortable with. And so what I mean by that is I'm not looking for supercars and mansions. If that comes, I mean, I won't say no.
By the way, just to cut you off right there, this guy's a fellow Jag man.
I am.
So I have a massive amount of respect for him just because of that.
That was completely by chance. I remember we met in Costa Coffee and we come outside and you have your key, you unlock. I'm like, you drive a Jaguar. And then you were like...
And there was a moment right there, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was like, all right, there's a connection there.
Yeah, right there.
Only certain people drive Jags and people with our kind of mindset. And so, yeah, we sort of clicked. I mean, we clicked from the start, but I think that was when I was like, okay, that's it.
And I have to say, brother, and I want to say this publicly, you have an incredible skill of communication.
I appreciate that. It's something I've worked on, actually.
And for being a 22-year-old as well, you know, to have that skill, in my opinion, perfectly.
Thank you.
You know, of course, there's always room for improvement, but the way you communicate, the way you carry yourself is absolutely refreshing to see. And it's actually, you're an example for a lot of men who are watching this podcast today who are, you know, my demographic starts from 16 and it goes all the way up to 40. But there's a large portion of that between 16 and 25 that want to improve their communication skills, the way they dress. And, you know, I think you're an absolutely brilliant example of that, of someone who carries himself well, communicates well, great tonality in the way that you communicate as well. It's amazing to see, man. It really is.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I've worked on it, and I think for anybody who wants to reach this point as well, I think you have to imagine yourself where you want to be in the future. Okay, so I imagined when I was younger, I was thinking, okay, when I'm 30, 40, I'm thinking of myself as like, I don't know that this is what I see myself as in the future now, but I saw myself as like a corporate guy, a businessman, driving a executive car in a suit and tie, and I'd go to meetings. And how would I speak in these meetings? Who would I speak with? So I kind of internalized it and imagined it, and I think that was where it started. It was like, okay, that's where I want to be. Let me start now. And I distinctly remember I started wearing like formal wear, right? I'd be going out to the grocery store wearing formal wear. I'd have friends saying to me, why are you dressed like that? You know, you look like an idiot. I was just like, it's not the place that I'm going to. It's that if I want to believe in it, I have to start somewhere, and I have to start now, and I have to project this image to the world. And then gradually it becomes a thing where you don't even think of it. I just throw on, you know, a suit in the morning, and it's not anything to me now. It's not like, oh, I'm wearing this, and is it weird that I'm wearing this and I'm not going to somewhere fancy? No, it's just...
Not at all. And you know what? This is how people used to dress 50, 60 years ago.
I know.
And we've lost that as a society.
People had style, definitely.
Now we have Slazenger FC, Reebok FC, right? You see guys out there, tracksuits. Some of these guys out with their missus on a Friday night. I know. Wearing hoodies.
I know.
And grey joggers. And I'm thinking, hang on a second, your woman's right with you, man.
Right.
She's dressed very nicely. She smells good. She's taking care of herself. And you're embarrassing her like this. Be a man and dress well. Honestly, what happened to a good tailored suit?
Right.
And that's timeless.
Yeah.
That will never look out of place.
Absolutely.
You know, so it really frustrates me when I see guys. And a lot of the times, it's not because they don't have the money. A lot of these guys with
these
tracksuits on have
tracksuits
money.
are bloody expensive.
Yeah, someone once told me that they cost £400. My jaw dropped.
Yeah,
£400 for what? To look homeless? You know, honestly,
they look like the average Joe.
Yeah,
that's what that is at the moment. It's the average Joe. Not even average, I'd say. I don't want to really talk bad on people, but like I do believe that a big part of your image is how you present yourself to the world, right? That's the first thing people see, and whether you like it or not, people judge you on what they see. Okay, and I have walked into places and I've been treated with more respect because of what I'm wearing.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter, you know, what your ethnic background is or what your economic situation is. I mean, just dress nice, and that doesn't necessarily mean a suit and tie everywhere, but just dress nice. Okay. And that can mean a different thing for a lot of different people, but I just think keep it simple, but stylish. Timeless, I think.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah, you can wear, you know, a cardigan, a polo cardigan, you know, some cream chinos with a pink shirt, unbuttoned. It doesn't have to be full three-piece suit.
Right, exactly.
You know, and I think a lot of people have that misconception. A lot of people think that maybe they'll stand out in the wrong way if they do wear a suit.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, just try it.
Yeah.
Put on a nice suit on a Saturday, not Tuesday or Monday. Yeah. Because those are the days people expect you to at least put a little bit more effort in, maybe because you're going to work or whatever. Yeah. On a Saturday afternoon, wear a suit, go to your local Tesco's, and just observe. Just observe, right? And you'll notice people will be like, oh, you look lovely. Yeah. You know, even if someone does say, oh, are you going to a wedding?
That is literally what happened to us in TK Maxx. I just saw you, I was like, you're dressed quite nice. And that was it. I wouldn't have said that if you was in a tracksuit.
Exactly.
Right? So...
And that has opened, you know, a connection right there. Right. You know, it's allowed us to become friends and talk with each other.
Absolutely.
And so that's the thing. It opens opportunities.
Definitely.
There is an ROI. Yeah. Now, obviously, don't wear a suit. Don't wear a suit because you want something from people. Wear it because it feels nice to wear one. Yeah. And I believe in the saying, when you feel good, you do good.
Definitely.
And when I wear a nice suit, and I have fun with it, cream suits, maroon red, olive
creative,
green. Yeah, I have fun with it. And people look. And that people say things. And I've noticed it in airports. I get upgrades. Staff treat me differently. Yeah. You know, and so there's benefits that come from it.
Yeah.
And so give it a go. Just be open-minded. Yeah. If you give it a go and you absolutely hate it, then fine. But you can't say, I'll never wear a suit. People associate wearing a suit with going to a funeral or going to an interview. And, you know, you usually have in your mind a picture of a black suit that's really baggy or something. But if you wear a nice suit that fits you well,
slim fit, tailored fit, something like that.
Yeah, that's tailored nicely to you.
Yep.
You'll feel, trust me, you'll feel invincible. You'll feel incredible. You feel like Bruce Wayne.
I don't know anybody that I've ever actually met who has genuinely had a problem with a suit. I mean, they might prefer to wear tracksuits, but like I've never heard someone actually say, wearing suits are ugly. I don't actually know that a suit has ever upset anybody. It's one of those clothes that doesn't offend anyone. It's a positive only. It's what you're saying. There's an ROI, and yeah, honestly, I mean, I'm sure there probably is some crazy person who is like that, but I've not met someone who genuinely said to me outright, "I'll never wear a suit in my life. I can't stand them." I've never
Do you
met
know what it is?
someone.
It does something to your mind as well. When you put on a suit, you feel like the boss. You start acting different.
Yeah.
And because you start acting different, you get different outcomes.
Yeah.
Even when I used to work from home, and this is why I don't do it anymore, because of, you know, I feel like when I'm in my home environment, it's a place I want to relax and unwind.
Yeah.
But even when I used to work from my bedroom, I'd put on a suit and work from my desk, because just the fact that I put on a suit puts me in a different state of mind.
Yeah.
It's like putting on your armor, ready to go out and fight. Yeah. It does something to you.
Yeah, no, I agree.
For me, it wires me, it changes me.
Yeah, it kind of wakes you up, sets you in the scene. I kind of agree with the work from home thing. So I've got an office at home and I do work from home there, but I used to actually pay a subscription for Spaces. So you've heard of them, obviously, the rental office place. And the reason I'd go is, I know I've got an office at home and I can literally do the same work, but something about being in an office environment away from home, you don't have those distractions. It does something to you, and you'll find you're productive. You're doing 3 times more work, and I just think it's there's a lot of, again, psychology that goes into it. It's like, all right, you're dressing a certain way, you're in a certain environment, you're going to do work. And I think setting yourself up like that is always going to be a net positive outcome.
Yeah.
Right?
James Clear actually talks about it in his book, Atomic Habits. He calls it environment design. Designing your environment to be conducive to success. Even like the studio that I'm in right now, I designed it to look as nice and to be as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel a certain way. I take great pride in being here.
Yeah.
And as a result, I want to go above and beyond for my clients when I do my coaching call, in the podcasts that I do. I want my guests to feel comfortable, to enjoy the experience. I take my work sacredly. And I think when you view your work as a sacred thing, there's honor in it. I want to give it my absolute best. It's not something I'm doing to pass time. This is something I'm doing.
Half-ass it.
Exactly. This is meaningful to me. This is important to me. This is my legacy. So, you know, I have to do it to the best of my ability every single day. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. You know, when I dress well, it affects other areas in my life. You know, it makes me, you know, more productive in my workouts. It makes me a better friend. You know, everything is affected by the fact that I take myself seriously. When you take yourself seriously, other people take you seriously.
Definitely.
So,
it's a lot of it's how you hold yourself. You can walk into a room and, you know, like if you are dressed this way, instantly, you know, you garner that respect, that mutual respect from people, because a man can respect another man for dressing sharply. And it's not an envious thing. It's not like, he's better dressed than me, or you know, nothing egotistical like that. It's literally as simple as, I respect that. I respect that's a guy who's gone out of his way. He looks good. He might be someone who I might like to do business with. He might be someone I might like to hang out with. You know, something like that. You have that interpretation from what you see.
Absolutely.
And obviously, that's only part of it, the visual side. But then the next side, obviously, is the way you speak, the way, again, you hold yourself, the gestures, all this kind of stuff. And it all comes into its own. And I think a lot of what you're saying is true. Like, you put the suit on and the rest of it kind of just comes naturally.
When you wear a suit.
Yeah.
And you get into your car.
Yeah.
Your car now has to be clean.
Right.
If you're wearing a nice, beautiful suit, and you get into your car and there's Burger King wrappers on the floor, there's chips from 3 weeks ago molding away at the bottom.
There's no consistency. And this is where we go again. This goes full circle, man.
It really
Consistency in trading. And the people don't realize what you mean when you say consistency. Consistency in everything in life. Every facet of your life has to be fairly consistent. I don't know that I've ever met a successful person who has no consistency in their life, who just does everything just by the flow and just, you know, no structure. I think every single successful person, you can hear as many interviews as you want, they'll always say, now, I don't know if I believe all of it about them waking up at 4 a.m. and they have a shower or a cold shower and all this stuff. I don't know that I believe that, but I do believe to an extent they plan their lives out pretty well, as in, you know, that's why they have an assistant to basically schedule things for them. And so their work is literally just down to a T. So they have a calendar, and then every half hour they've got a slot, they've got this, they're doing this. So when you can structure your life, I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but I think having that consistency in your life is what leads to greatness, because just being there, being present, is a big part of the game. For example, if you have a guy and say there's a 1% chance of, say you're I don't know, playing basketball, and there's a 1% chance of that guy getting it in the hoop. If he doesn't even try to make that shot, there's a 100% chance that he hasn't made it in.
There you go.
There's still a 1% chance it could happen. I mean, it's stacked against you either way. So if you quit, you're not going to get anything. If you do this and you don't get anything, well, at least you tried.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it boils down to, just being there, being consistent and trying. I think ultimately in life, relationships, trading, being an entrepreneur, anything.
And the reason why so many men are unsatisfied and unfulfilled is because when they hit the bed at night, they know they haven't given it their best, and that eats away at them at night.
It does.
And that's the thing. And this is why I tell fellas, if you give it your best shot, you genuinely give it your best shot. Not, you know, fiddling around with it or dipping your toe in the water. No, I did this properly for a year, every day, consistently. There were no gaps in performance. I showed up every day and I did it to the best of my ability, productively, not just active work, productive work, every day for a year. If it doesn't work out after a year, you've at least got the feedback that this isn't for you. But you can go to bed at night knowing that you gave it your best, you're fulfilled.
Definitely.
And at the end of it, you will have attained something. People often think, well, if I do trading for a year and it doesn't work out, I've lost something. You haven't lost nothing.
No.
You're now wiser. You're better. You're more interesting as a person.
Definitely.
You can talk to people about different subjects, different topics.
Definitely.
So you never lose at the end of it.
No.
You've gained something, experience.
Well, you lose if you choose to lose. That's what I think it is. I think losing is a part. It's actually mostly a choice even. I'd say, yeah, it's again, what you get out of it. And if you can lose and gain something, what you're saying, yeah, by the end of it, you've at least gained something.
Yeah.
And yeah, at least you can also say, at least I tried, right? And I do think that's a big problem a lot of us have is, again, we don't try our hardest. We try to dip our toe in. And we think of that in our minds as that's the safe option. I'm playing it safe. And it can feel safe in your mind, but ultimately it wasn't the safest option, because actually if you just put all your attention into it and, really tried, it might have actually gone somewhere. And so now you've just kind of made it concrete that your failure has basically, it's won, it's taken over. You've allowed it to make a decision for you. Okay, trading hasn't worked out. Okay, well then I'm going to stop trading. And again, it's like, okay, I can take that, or I can say, hang on a sec, it hasn't worked out. What can I change? And this goes back to everything we've been saying previously. But yeah, I do think that a lot of things come full circle, in life. There's lots of patterns. And this is another thing with trading. It teaches you to recognize these patterns as well. And I just find that really fascinating.
And you need to recognize patterns in your behavior. Because if you don't, you'll never learn. Whether it's maybe in previous relationships with women, you've been too needy. Maybe you've allowed your own insecurities to sabotage the relationship. If you don't learn from that, you'll mess up the next relationship and the next and the next. So unless you stop and say to yourself, right, clearly what I'm doing isn't working. So I need to make sure that going forward, I address this. Otherwise, I'll ruin future relationships. It's pattern recognition. And the earlier you recognize that pattern, the better. You don't need 7 failed relationships to have gone by for you to do something. After the first, I suggest that's enough, right? After your first major breakup and everything, learn from that. Doesn't mean the next relationship will be perfect, but if the main issues that you had before are resolved, then you stand a much better chance of having a better relationship the second time around, the third. Well,
I agree.
Second time around, and hopefully that's the final time. But yeah, Jason, look, thanks so much for coming down, brother. It's been a pleasure having you down.
Thank you.
This is something we'll definitely do again.
Hopefully, inshallah.
We can definitely tap into so many different topics. But that's been very.
We mainly stayed on trading, which is an amazing topic. But no, I can think of hundreds more that we can talk about. So
for sure, and I want to save those for the next episodes that we do together. You're local, anyways. You're very close to me, and I want to thank Jason for coming down today.
Thank you for the invite.
Having you down. Ladies and gents, let us know what you enjoyed from the podcast down below. For you traders out there, do you resonate with what we spoke about? Share your experiences. We'd love to see them. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give it a like, comment. Let us know what you think down below. And I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.